Alright everybody, it's been several streams since I've had my microphone enabled. But since we're about to beat the last boss, I figured I'd turn it back on. I've been catching up on some listening outside of Final Fantasy V. Now this should be straightforward, I think. We are, I guess, okay leveled, not great leveled, but it really has no need to be up there. Chicken knife will speed him up a bit. Okay. I have an idea. Let's go. Let's do this thing. What about... preventing Toad and confusion could be helpful. A little bit of a magic defense boost. Oh, but defense goes down significantly. I mean, she is in the back row. Let's go with that. All right. I thought he was weak to holy. This form is just going to be a bunch of attacking. And bringing people back to life, apparently. This is where we start to abuse elixirs. I don't think that'll work. What am I looking at? Gold needle. If I was a smart person, I would have memorized how much HP X-Death had. Because I need to switch Lena to Break Blade. Close to... Well, that was not nice. Neither was that. Hoping it's soon. There we go. So you know what? It's really not necessary, actually. Nice. What in the world? I'm not trying to control the last boss. You know what? Again, if I were a smart person, let's think about this. Where's the air knife at? Okay, so that had no effect at all. Cool. What happened? We have confusion? Is that it? Oh, she's berserked. Oh, oh my god. This is gonna be fun. Okay, Ferris is old. I should have let Ferris die. This would be interesting, but okay. Ooh. Hold on. Okay, so we didn't just restart the whole battle. Wait! We killed the back one. Oh! I didn't realize that was susceptible to that. That's what's up. That is what's up and a half. Actually, hold on. Let's see what the damage is. 612, okay. Oh, okay. That could be helpful later, actually. That's pretty cool. I've never played with the magic lamp before, to be honest. Zombie now. She's still berserked. Okay, so I selected the wrong move last time. This is when the things get interesting. What am I looking for? Gold needle. After a while, it really does it becomes a bit of a blur to me when I'm looking at that menu. Let's go. Come on, before he starts doing stuff. We've only got so much time left. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. Don't appreciate it. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. Okay, alright. We got 2 deaths. 3 deaths? Ooh, that was ugly. That was unnecessary. That was so unnecessary. Oh, this game is... Oh, man. Who... Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do. Oh, man. Look at all these elixirs. Of course it would miss. Ooh. It's on you, Lena. Let's go. It's on you. It's all on you. Come on, let's do it again. My hands are behind my head right now. Miss. Can we get nothing but misses? Oh, man. Game over. Where's my juice? Oh, that wasn't insulting. And Alma guessed after that? Oh, man. The expression "I am dead" has now taken on a brand new meaning. Oh. Well, that was fun. I didn't actually get any juice. I said, where's my juice? Like it was going to materialize. There we go. Well, that was a hot mess, but it was cool. It was a learning experience. I did not realize... Okay, let's think about this. Let's think. We can strategize so that we can take out the back one immediately since it's susceptible. Alright, stop. Chicken knife. Okay, let's go. That was some bad chicken knife luck. But okay. I think it's supposed to have like a 1 in 3 or a 1 in 4 chance of trying to run away. So we've had exceedingly poor luck so far. Alright, this first farm has gone strangely well. Despite the chicken knife luck. Lord, I spoke too soon. Alright, hold on. That could be for the best. Let's not say we didn't. Let's not say we didn't. Where's my actual... Why? Lord. Oh, even better. I wonder if Magic Lamp actually breaks the expectations for this run. Since you're not allowed to use rods or things that cast magic spells. But you know what? It's been to our favor so far. I'm just gonna run with it. It's been educational. Can you really petrify that? I mean, paralyze it? Okay, this is getting a bit silly. Okay. Alright, so Golem is down. Or not. Okay, here we go. Fun times. Let's go, let's go, let's go. think I set this up right. More or less. Let's go, let's go. Yeah. If it gets by itself for too long, it starts to whoop up on your party. So now the question is, how would this battle have gone had I have not used the magic lamp? I think it's doable without the magic lamp. Let me look up the rules for this run anyway, after the fact. Hold on. Oh, I was supposed to take a screenshot. Hold on. Hold on. Do. There we go. Screenshot taken. Alright, let's see. What are the rules? What are the rules? 750. Hold on, no 750 run. Magic lamp. I see nothing about not using a magic lamp, so my conscience is intact. The rest of this stream is hands-free. So I'm going to take that as a moment to catch all up on some things. So, number one, I would say I'm on page 314 of 399 of John Ely's Trail of Tears, The Rise and Fall of the Cherokee Nation, which has been an interesting experience for me. As someone who is somewhere down the line part Cherokee and was raised to believe that, but also growing up, in a certain sense, typically white American. Though distinctly different from some of my other white American counterparts. It's a weird thing when you think about it, to kind of feel like you're part of everything that's going on around you, but you're not really. And there's supposed to be something to that in the Christian ethic of being in the world but not of the world, right? This idea that you recognize that you're an alien of a certain kind among people that otherwise see you as familiar. And that's used to justify like cultish type relationships between religious folk and their leaders. Basically, you scare people into thinking that they're separate from everybody else, therefore they're the source of wisdom and knowledge that you have to entertain or even rule your life by, because of their connection with the source, so to speak. So it's interesting when you think about it from that lens, how we use tradition as a way of not just controlling other people, but controlling ourselves. That self-limiting capacity. in a very, I don't know, sublime sense, kind of ties into why doing these challenge runs is somewhat interesting to me, but at the same time, why it doesn't break my conscience to manipulate the system to get to a certain point instead of spending 2 hours grinding for a weapon that we'll use for 30 seconds in the last boss. I manipulated this system and I spent about 5 minutes trying to get it, you know. And at a certain level, I feel like that's something I should be ashamed of. But at the same time, I don't know, I give myself permission to admit that this is just a program, it's just a game. That it's not really violating me in any true sense of the term. But when you get so tied up in the program, you get so tied up in the story that you don't know how to navigate within it. You don't know how to test the boundaries and the limits of what you can and can't do to be successful in the end, or not even just successful, to even enjoy what you're doing. Like so playing Final Fantasy V, for instance, yeah, I could do a 4 white mages run sometime. That would be interesting. It might take me 50 plus hours to complete it, though. It's a weird sort of self-discipline that would require. It would also be a major pain in the ass. So, anyway, tying it back to the book I've been reading. Sort of reconnecting myself at a certain level with my Native American roots, at the same time dissociating myself from them. It's a weird form of deconstruction where I recognize that there are parts of Cherokee culture that I don't associate with and will probably never associate with, whether historically or presently. But there are certain experiences that they've had as a people that I can relate to in my personal life in a way that now makes sense, and it's not as aggravating as it was, because I realize that it's built into the fabric of the human experience, that I'm not actually alone in this particular sense. And I've spoken a little bit about this in previous streams, maybe like a year ago, but once upon a time I was a part of a religious organization and was in a certain sense kicked out without really being kicked out. And it's a funny thing to talk about, because I, in a certain sense, left. Like if you ask somebody on the outside what happened, they would say I was kicked out. Or you might ask somebody else and they would say that I left. But in reality, I neither left nor was kicked out. I was put in a position where I was temporarily set apart, and re-entry proved itself to be too difficult for me and too difficult for the organization, such that even without so much as a single conversation with one of its leaders after the fact, it seems to have been mutually agreed upon that re-entry was not even an option, neither for their conscience nor for mine. And so, as I'm reading this book about how the Cherokee Nation stood above many of the other native populations, and that it tried to become more Western, it tried to become more Christian, it tried to become more civilized, it had its own written language, it did everything it was supposed to do to sort of fit in with this institution. But ultimately there were political and economic pressures being put in to the nation that made it impossible for them to stay where they were at. Now, of course, I haven't got to the end of the book. I kind of know how it ends, but at the same time, understanding the how, right? The process that went in. Like I'm 3/4 the way through this book, and they haven't even been forcibly removed yet. We haven't even gotten to the Trail of Tears part, but it's coming soon, I'm sure. Where I'm at in the book, they pretty much kind of drawn the line. I'm like, all right, it's time to go, time to get out. And so there was this period of about 2 years where they could have peacefully left if they wanted to, or had the means to. And in retrospect, what they were being asked to leave was beyond unfair to the people that wanted to stay. To the people that wanted to leave, it would seem like a pretty good proposition. But to the people that actually owned land there or had strong connections with the people in that space, they saw that as their home, leaving was not an option. And so at a certain level, I can relate in my own personal life to this period of transition where it really was unclear from an outside perspective, depending on like if you were inside, even with inside the Cherokee Nation, if with inside or without, it wasn't clear who wanted to stay and who wanted to go, who thought it was a good idea, who thought it was a bad idea. By the end of this period, it's so messy that all you see is a mess of things, where the anxiety just builds up to the point where it's like, just go, just go. You know, we're tired of dealing with you. You're tired of dealing with us. Just go. We've already signed this treaty. Blah blah blah. Right? It's just, I don't know. It's a whole mess. But if you really dug deep into that, it would not be clear whether they decided to leave their land behind, and whether they were forcibly kicked out, because obviously there was a bit of both that went on. And depending on what side of the political spectrum you were in then, is how you defended what was happening or not happening. Anyway, all that is to say, the more I read through the history of the Cherokee people, the more I can embrace my situation with this local religious institution, because it's not clear to me who even now, explaining this to online strangers who may or may not even listen to this could have like 0 views, but it's not clear to me what I should or should not explain about why I left or why I was supposedly kicked out or whatever. Because there was never any formal action taken. Nobody filed a formal grievance against me. I never filed a formal grievance against anybody. It's just like we all kind of stopped short of it really being quote unquote an issue. But by not really addressing any of those underlying issues, it just became like a powder keg, just waiting for a spark. So with all that tension behind it, you know, the questions of like, what relationships did I leave behind? Like, there are people at this church that probably think that I just up and abandoned them. You know, that I had a falling out with somebody and I said that was too much and I just left. And there's going to be other people that think that I was kicked out, like forcibly removed from the church. And that was not the case either. But there's going to be some other people that think that we actually had like a reasonable conversation about it. And we decided, you know what, this is for the best. We're both going to move on in our own separate ways. And that never happened either. Right. And so it's difficult for me to even want to associate with anyone from that organization, because if they say, hey, where have you been? We've missed you. You know, why did you leave like that? Why are you coming back like this? Because I don't have an answer that is that I don't know. I don't feel like I have an answer I can speak with integrity. But then again, as I'm reading this book, I'm realizing that there is a way you can tell the story that exposes the good and the bad of everyone involved without it being this tremendous act of judgment. But then again, it's also taken me several months to get this far. I'm taking it bits and pieces at a time. I might read 10, 20, sometimes 30 pages a day at most. But it might average like, 3 or 4 pages a day, really. And I've had this book sitting on my shelf and not having read it for probably most of my adulthood. I just have never prioritized it. And then one day I was like, well, let me just read this book. So if it's taking me this long to pick up the book and read it and associate with it, I wonder what process it would take for the other people from this church to go through. What book, you could jokingly say the Bible, but I'm saying, like, what book would they need to pick up and read? And just to realize, okay, I see what happened here. I see where I was a part of the problem. I see where I was part of the solution and did not do what I was supposed to do to make this better. Or maybe there was nothing I could do to make it better. And just, it is the mess that it is. But to desanitize something without making it dangerous, right? Like when you rip a Band-Aid off of a wound, the reason that you cover it is so it can heal properly, but so that it doesn't become contaminated in the process. So the question then becomes, at what point do we take the Band-Aid off and deal with what's underneath? When does it feel safe to be vulnerable? And again, it's wild to me to think about the lifestyles of these people, and not just the Native Americans, but also the settlers in the United States. Everything was it was pure chaos. Who was in power? Who was doing what? Like, we think of the Wild West as an example of, lawlessness to a certain degree. And it's like, no, it was always a mess. It was always a mess. This is going to be over soon. But yeah, it's always been a mess. And I think it's helped me demystifying the American experience. I think since World War II, we've had this impression that we live in basically a peacetime era. And if you look at the history of the United States from the beginning all the way up to present, it's not like that stopped in World War II. It changed gears, it shifted gears. And it's not like people fundamentally changed either. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, World War II ended, we saved as many were left of the Jews in the concentration camps and death camps, etc. From this point, we all of a sudden became a different species. It's like, no, we're still the mess that we were before that, and we're still capable of becoming the monsters that ruled the world back then. And if you start to look at it now, you sort of go, oh, wow. Like, you see stuff with Trump and Biden and the drama that we're now experiencing, and we think that it's something new, and it's not at all. It's not new. Absolutely not new. So, there's that. I have not decided at this point where I'm going to donate funds for this run. Remember, this is a part of the Job Fiesta, which is a yearly fundraising event. They tend to pick up a particular cause, and everyone raises money to that end. This is my third run during this Job Fiesta season. I don't think I'm going to do a fourth. Not that I'm over Final Fantasy V, but I'm now to. It's really more for my subscribers than anything else. I might need to switch back to something other than Final Fantasy V for their sanity. And for my appreciation of their time, because not everybody that subscribed to my channel did so for the Final Fantasy V content. There was a lot of Pokemon fans that were attracted to this channel, so I may need to revisit that. And in previous runs too, I had mentioned that, you know, as capable as my assistant has been at work, and I work a third shift as a supervisor. I had an assistant that would fill in for me whenever I was not there, so that I could have something that resembles a 5-day work week, which never really worked out that way, but it's close enough. And so now, very recently, I lost him as a member of my team. Because there were some challenges with communication and engagement with this particular individual, and I don't mean to lay any negativity on his name. It's just that as a supervisor, if I have an assistant, I need them to be reliable in that position, especially if there's no one else in the world that can be doing that. Like if it's either me or this person. It's like when you work in an organization, you have like a buddy supervisor or something like this, so that like if you're not there, or you're sick or they're sick, you can kind of fill in for each other. There were times when I would have to fill in for him last minute in a really strange way for me, my life, and my sleep schedule, because I was also working day shift. And so if I was working day shift and he happened to not be there, I would end up having to work a 14-hour day anytime he was absent without warning. And that's really, you could say that's an organizational problem, and I can take that. But in previous videos, you know, I would be streaming, waiting for him to show up for work sometimes, and I would talk about that a little bit. So I say all that because that's a very recent change this past week. He's no longer with my team, so it's just me running my overnight team. And then I do have some support staff to help out on days when I'm not there. But at this point, I've pretty much been full-time overnight for a couple of weeks now. I took a vacation, if you can call that. It was more of a staycation, but I took a vacation, and when I came back from that, I was pretty much set on full-time overnight. And that's kind of, it's shifted my life in some good and bad ways. I now go to bed at approximately 8 or 9 every day, and I wake up whenever I wake up, do what I need to do, and then get ready for work. And that's worked all right so far. That may bring some regularity to some of these strains, I don't know. But just as much as there's been all these changes in the last couple of weeks, whether it be in work or my personal psychology, that could radically shift over the next couple of weeks too. There's no telling. But in keeping with my reflections on this book, and some of these streams, and the way my health has been kind of up and down over the last year and a half, at a certain level, I'm starting to embrace the chaos of it all. If there's a word of encouragement to be taken from all of that, that's what I would say. So I think that playing through Final Fantasy V, like I have been over the past month or so, has been something of a contemplative practice, you know, almost meditation of a certain kind. because I'm seeing these spots like where I can recognize the pattern, like, okay, this is the point where if my mic was on, I could just talk about anything I wanted to talk about. Or if someone was in the chat, you know, I could talk with them openly about whatever, because it's just nothing but me smashing A, waiting for the storyline to move on. Or when I can catch up on reading, like during the fight with Omniscient, I had my computer set on fast forward. I'm sitting here reading a book, listening to streams, you know, like podcasts and things. So recognizing, okay, here's the point where I'm going to grind for a little bit. I can shift my focus away from being too mindful in the way that I'm playing the game. But other times where it requires more attention. For whatever reason, my stream is lagging out. I don't. I'm watching this on YouTube in the corner. There we go. I don't know what that was about. But yeah, that being said, I'm learning to embrace the tension a little bit. I don't know where you're at in life or what you're going through, but I hope you're doing well. I hope you're able to embrace the change, embrace the chaos. My recommendation is, if you're that concerned about your current situation, looking to the past won't necessarily make things better. By contrast, I hate the rationalization of it could be worse, right? I think that's just a really weak way of saying I don't want to deal with the present moment. But there is some wisdom to be gleaned from reflecting on that. Like, not only could it be worse, it's been worse before. It's almost always been worse than it is right now. Now, that's not to justify you being in a bad situation. I'm not trying to support anybody being gaslit into thinking that the trap of a relationship they're in, whether it's with themselves, somebody else, work, home, finances, whatever, just because it's bad now doesn't mean that it hasn't been better. But in the overall scheme of things, times were much more challenging. Like, we haven't had central air heat and air for a while. It used to be just chimneys. Okay, let's think about that. You have fire logs, not with natural gas. You light a match or whatever, and poof, you got a fireplace going. It's like, no, like real logs, real wood, smoke, soot. You got chimneys that are supposed to keep, you know, the house as warm as it can be. And that's as good as it got for thousands of years of human experience. It's only been in the last, 100, 150 years, right, that we've had any kind of improvement in that area. Like, think about it. And like I said, when you start studying the politics, especially American politics, from like the way it started to where we're at now, what we're seeing now is just almost like a resurgence of stuff that we buried a long time ago, right? It's like we're taking off that Band-Aid and we're finally like looking at it like, oh. And so it's a bit of it's an eye-opening experience. I wouldn't rush it on anybody, and that's probably where some of this tension is coming from as well. I think people underneath the surface, I think they know that things have been bad for a while. Like, whether it's in their own lives, their own relationship, work, finance, politics, whatever. I think underneath we all know that it's either been worse or it should have been worse a long time ago. And we're just now getting to a point where it's being laid out in front of us. Like, okay, this is real. Now we have to deal with this. Especially with like world conflict too, with what's going on in Ukraine. And the impact that that's going to have on the rest of the world, not just now, right? But for months and years ahead, things are going to be radically different. Especially if tensions continue to rise between us and China as well. And it's not just going to suck for us, it's going to suck for the whole world. So maybe that's what I'll have to find. I'll have to really contemplate, work my way through. If I was going to donate $20 to an organization that would make the world suck less, what would it be? All things considered. Anyway, if anyone made it this far in the video, I really appreciate you. If you watched any part of this series, you're awesome in my book. Perhaps a bit troubled. I don't know who would subject themselves to watching this or listening to me ramble, but I appreciate you nevertheless. And if there's an organization that you think would make the world suck less if it had $20 more, what do you suppose that would be? It doesn't matter, left, right, or center, religious, non-religious. If you have any thoughts on that, definitely comment on this video. Let me know what you think. But again, I hope that you're well, and I look forward to the next one, which, you know what, let me check something. Let me check one more thing. Let me check it. So for Job Fiesta, right now they have a goal of $10,000 benefiting Planned Parenthood Federation of America. And they've raised $13,500, which is probably a drop in the bucket for their overall budget, but it's a significant amount of money to raise. Someone even donated $1,000 even. I mean, there's 20 days, 12 hours, 50 minutes, and 35 seconds left in the 4-Job Fiesta. If I put in an hour a day, I could probably finish another run. However, I have to admit that I've been on a manic run through these Final Fantasy V games. I've done 3 runs in a matter of a couple of weeks. 25-ish hours, 25, 30 hours apiece. That's a lot. I need to slow down. I need to focus on other things, especially with my, let me turn the music back on, especially with my assistant being no longer with my team, and some other obligations I have at work. I really need to focus on them as well, because again, I've used this channel as a way to break away from being such a workaholic, and that's been a great benefit. But I also wonder if me playing as much as I have lately has been me avoiding some of my responsibilities at work to a certain degree. It's not like I'm playing on the clock like that. What I mean is, I could be focusing on them a little more, in a certain sense, as an investment, so I can focus on them less. And that's the way I got to think about that. Just like I ran Final Fantasy V before 4-Job Fiesta even started. So this is technically my 4th run in probably like, what, 2 or 3 months? But that initial run was to refamiliarize myself with that and just make sure that my head is on straight before I jump into these contests. And so anyway, I need to do something similar with my team at work and make sure that they feel like they're connected and understood. what's the word? Engaged with. So that's come to mind recently. So I may jump out of that, and then whatever else I do after this will probably be more casual. I might do another. What's funny is if you saw any of my Pokemon Red run through of what I call the Birds and the Bees challenge, which is kind of funny if you think about it. If I actually paid attention to what the trainers were saying as I was fighting them, there is so much like sexual innuendo that could be either explicitly or implicitly derived from some of the things that they're saying, which is really kind of disturbing when you think about it, because it was a kid's game. But it's like Rocko's Modern Life, if you ever watched that cartoon, or Ren and Stimpy. Around that era, there was a lot of cartoons that had some like adult themes that was buried underneath. So I guess that as a kid, when you watched it, that your babysitter was also getting something out of it, like at a completely different level. Anyway, but without highlighting those particular issues with the original translation, I limited myself to just birds, or flying types, we'll say. Flying types and flying types and bug types. So right, birds and the bees. It's kind of a joke, whatever. I could in fact sort of amplify that by playing one of the Gen 3 games, like playing through Leaf Green, let's say. Instead of calling it the birds and the bees, we'll call it the wings and the stings. doesn't matter. It's the same principle. But the moveset, the game in general, you have different. You have a very different angle on that, because some of the Pokemon where they're available, some of the movesets are very different. So that would be interesting to do that. See how that goes. But there's that. This is looped like 10 times now. I hope you really like this music. It's very relaxing. But nevertheless, I don't know what I'm going to do next. But whatever it is, I'm going to try to keep it low stress. Try to manage that chaos a little bit. But again, as always, if you made it this far, I do appreciate you. If you haven't subscribed already, and you might be remotely interested in listening to me ramble while I play video games, make sure you subscribe with notifications so you know when I go live, because I have no idea what my upload schedule is. Well, that's about it. Thanks again.